Yeah.
No, it's just a hand. It's very awkward having someone in mastermind.
Yeah. It's
I share with Travis.
Yeah.
And I have one as well.
Yeah. I'm always gonna honor you guys. Hey y'all. Okay. So we're at Ask Me Questions, Cindy, about the Spanish version of the thing.
Okay.
Hey y'all, we have like 8,000 new people coming to the TikTok, to the Academy tonight. They got the teacher thing.
Oh, yes.
We're not going to bring it up in the question.
Hearts already coming up.
Huh?
Look at all your little hearts already coming up.
Oh, the hearts. The hearts have it. Okay, I'm ready, Freddie.
Okay.
Let the questions begin.
To come on. Absolutely. There we go.
I'm waiting for the video of Rachel like slinging herself around in the beach towel. Hey y'all.
I haven't seen that one.
It's what she does on Monday nights. Okay.
Oh, gotcha.
Ask the questions. Who's in a snowstorm?
Okay.
My niece put up a picture in Cincinnati, or I'm not really sure where she lives, somewhere. It was 18 inches of snow. Whew.
Oh, sweet Lord. Does she have snow snacks?
I would assume if you grow up there, you were used to stuff like that.
Okay.
So.
Just making sure.
If she doesn't, I can't get her any.
Correct.
Yes, because...
Well, there's always next time.
There's always a next time. All right. Let the questions begin.
Let the questions begin. Child hasn't been tested since 2019, and you've requested every year for retesting. What am I missing? What do I need to do?
Oh. What do you want more testing, or do you want to make an impact? So I would send an email. This is my last formal request for my student to have special education and related service testing. And then I would file a state complaint.
Fantastic. And this leads us right into our next question. What happens after you file a state complaint?
They send you an 18-wheeler full of money. It's fantastic. And they just dump it up at your house. So the great thing about a state complaint is it either is or it ain't, right? You either delivered special education or you denied it. One of the D's, we hope it's the first one. If you deny special education under 300.323 or 300.156, or you denied the parents any of their procedural rights and safeguards, which we have a whole series on in the Academy, the state will go in and ask for the district to produce evidence that refutes the complainant's allegation. So if you don't feel comfortable filing a complaint, myself or any of our team members file complaints all the time for our parents, because the point of a complaint is you want to have a successful outcome. And unfortunately, sometimes parents file very passionately, but they don't address the legal violations, which sometimes gets their complaints either not found in favor of the student and the parent or dismissed.
I had 650 pages of passion when I did my first one 20 years ago.
Wow, that's a script. That's not a state complaint.
Yes.
That's
and it was thrown out.
It's shocking. They're probably like, oh, yeah, hopefully it was used for a campfire.
I was thinking the same thing. What consequences for school teams up in a BIP and an IEP accommodations for 5 months?
What? Tell me the question again.
Okay, what are the consequences for a school team up in a BIP and an IEP accommodations for 5 months?
You broke up, but third time is going to be the charm.
Okay, well, it feels like there should be more words there.
Are you saying that your IEP and the BIP was not implemented for 5 months? What's the consequence?
I think that is.
Let me tell you what the consequence. Yeah, there is no consequence, folks, if you don't file. So if I go down the freeway and I speed in my car at 100 miles an hour, is that illegal? It's not right. But the only thing that's illegal are things that you get cited for and that there's a cause and effect. So if you want change, you have to file effective state and federal complaints. And so we have trainings for both of those things on the Academy, Special Education Academy. You can avail yourself of that. It's a great investment. Our partners can file for you. I can file for you. But when we file effectively, it brings about change. And I can tell you what happens to the complaints we file. They're found. and the school has to rectify it. And guess what happens? Amazing. They're able to rectify it. Just like that.
Tell us the thing you always tell us about the parents policing. The only ones that are policing this are the parents. What was that?
That's a fantastic question. So IDEA, the Individual with Disabilities Education Act, is the only federal act that's enforced by parents. So let's get out there and start writing some people some tickets.
That's awesome. Use a pink pen. What do you do when a teacher doesn't follow settlement agreement that was as a result from a due process?
So it's the responsibility of the LEA to follow a settlement agreement. So I would go to the special education director and the special education attorney for the district and get that handled.
Immediately. Her school is unable to provide a one-on-one for a student. What rights do the parents have?
I'm just going to tell you the honest truth, love. I have never, ever, 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 say it with me, ever had a student be successful in a charter school, ever. And certainly I would say that if a student needs that level of support, you're going to be hard pressed to find that in a charter school. Are they receiving federal funds? Do they act as public schools? Yes. But you're going to be hard pressed to have your IEP implemented with fidelity in a charter school.
Can you go through the 7 G's, please?
No.
That rhymed.
No. I can't. Let's try. So there's your crystallized intelligence. There is fluid reasoning. There's processing speed. There's short-term memory, long-term memory, auditory processing, and visual processing. Ta-da! Yeah. The G stands for gangsta. No, it doesn't. It stands for brain skills. If it's brain skills, why didn't they name this 7 B's or the 7 S's?
7
Because
B's.
the guy that invented him, his name started with a G, so he got credit for that.
Oh, I like this one. Beauty and Braille said, I need to jump back into the academy. Spill the deets, boss lady.
Yeah, you need to jump back into the academy because we are in a series, specially designed instruction. What is that? Who does that? How is that implemented? So definitely get back into the academy. We are here to serve all of you at the highest level so that you can be a special education boss.
What do I do if the school no longer has resources for my son? Mainly, they say it's due to funding.
I would ask for a meeting for out-of-district placement at the expense of the district. And guess what? Funds will appear. And if they're out of funding, just go ask for it from the football team. That's what I would do in a gentle way.
Can a hospital homebound with an IEP continue into transition 18 through 21?
So, transition, which is part of the reenactment of 2004, was an obligation of the district to bring about a set of organized skills, coordinated skills, so that the student has coordinated set of activities, so the student has skills to be post-secondary ready. And so, could you formulate some of those at home? Yes, but it's going to be very adaptive. Dan loves my lipstick and cardigan. Thank you, Dan. It's a Mover by Buxom. It's a blazer, Dan. It's a blazer from Talbot's, but it still counts.
Absolutely. My daughter has a dyslexia diagnosis. The school psych that evaluated her denied that she had dyslexia.
Okay, so I would ask for an IE, independent education evaluation at the expense of the district in the area of cognition to rule in or rule out that SLD.
Here's one near and dear to my heart. The school is not using the child's AAC device that's in the IEP. Can I file a state complaint?
I would file a federal complaint. If it was me, I would file a federal complaint. The district is charged with using a student's VOCD or SGD or AAC, voice output communication device, speech generated device, augmentative alternative communication device with the same level of efficacy that they communicate with the other students in the classroom. So I would file OCR all day long or get somebody that knows how to file OCR and do it that way.
Beauty and Braille followed up. She said, does the academy help with training for private schools? Because Mama Karen, I'm drowning.
We love private schools, but they're not under the umbrella or the obligations, duties, and responsibilities of IDEA.
If my son to a teacher's inappropriate behavior, shouldn't that be noted in the IEP?
No, an IEP is an individualized education program. It's a program that we're going to implement to address his deficits, to teach him a skill. So adults acting right is not a deficit that he has, and it's not a skill that we could teach him.
Okay, how can I help a child who is on access points but in the 7th grade classroom? The student is at the 1st grade level.
Welcome to Florida. So the student should be probably in a life skills setting. So in Florida, we like to access point them in the general ed setting. I would argue that if you're 6 years behind, you are not in your least restrictive environment. We would indicate that a few years behind, we can modify that and adapt the materials and learner's expectation, but that's just too big of a gap for general ed.
Can a non-SPED student ride the SPED bus?
No.
Okay. If my son had to be removed due to, that was a duplicate. Okay. Let's see.
I just want to say that Elena should wear purple often. I think Rachel should fly into town and take Elena on a purple. That's a really good color for you, Elena. I'm being serious.
They're twinning.
Yeah. Purple's a power color.
Woo woo! And it was a color of royalty. Okay. So my school has banned phones and headphones. Excuse me. And it's on my IEP that I have to have my headphones. What do I do?
Bring your headphones. An IEP is not for general ed students. It's for students with disabilities, and it's a different program than general ed students.
Karen, let's see that purple ring.
Oh, this one? Isn't that yummy? It's from, I think it was like $40. Isn't that amazing? Oh, Elena wants to see it. There it is.
Oh,
it's $40.
I love that one.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And this was from Dillard's. This was like $35. And it's adjustable on the inside. So if you have, if you have a woman of tininess, not something I suffer with, but
other people. Match my outfit.
It would match your outfit.
That's funny. So I see that there is something on a tab that is new, and it says Spanish. What is that all about?
Olé! So we are so excited. We have translated our 2-day intensive into Spanish. And so we have a 2-day intensive Spanish version. So please go and avail yourself of that. We're so excited. It is the second most spoken language in America. So we're super excited. And then we'll be adding other languages soon.
That's spectacular.
Spectacular.
My kid, student, is going to middle school. He's on a 504. What do I need to do now to prepare?
Nothing. I mean, his 504 plan goes with him. So because you're probably going to change campuses, I would ask for a meeting at the beginning of the school year.
What is the class ratio for self-contained? Currently, 1 teacher, 3 teachers' assistants, and 17 students.
So there's not a ratio under IDEA.
Absolutely. Wanting a para for a child who is nonverbal using an AAC device being denied by the school. What can I do to help this?
The student's being denied the device, or you're not using the device?
They want a para for the child who is nonverbal in helping to use the AAC device.
So you don't need a para to use the AAC device. You do need a communication partner. And so that's something that I've helped families get over the last, 15 years. It's a different way that you go about it in the IEP meeting. But if that's something you need help with, we can certainly see if we are a match for you.
Someone says they love your blush.
Thank you. And I think I tapped it. I'm trying to make sure that when I apply the blush, I go in and tap before I shove it on my face. Is it the right color? It's not too... I don't look like Baby Jane today?
No, it looks beautiful.
Or Carrot Top?
Oh, goodness.
I wonder if I will, this weekend I'm going to train you guys in Las Vegas. I wonder if I'll see Carrot Top. Does he live there?
It's very possible.
Is he still working? I don't know.
Great question. We'll have to inquire, because inquiring minds want to know.
Travis said yes. Travis said he's still working. He's had a lot. I think he's had more plastic surgery than Joan Rivers.
Oh, wow. I'll have to catch up. How long does the school have to get a one-on-one for a student who has one on their IEP?
Yesterday. Yeah, it's a requirement. You implement the IEP in the conformity that was agreed to.
So this one's from Sarcastic Mom, and I'm not sure if it's a sarcastic question, but it says, can you define what a special education teacher is?
Yeah, so it's a special education teacher is one who's met the qualifications as a highly trained teacher that's first a certified general education teacher and then has taken the state testing requirements to get their certification in that state to be able to deliver SDI, specially designed instruction, to help that student who's a special ed student enable them to make progress in light of their circumstances.
Yeah, we love that. How do I ask for more gen ed time for my daughter?
Hang on just a second. My husband's taking my dinner order, which is very important. So it's like barbecue sauce, no pickles, and onions. He just asked me if I wanted Miracle Whip on brisket. Oh, sir. I'm so sorry. Go ahead. From the top with feeling.
Absolutely. So, do I ask for more general education time for my daughter?
So you convene a meeting and you talk about the data that supports that decision.
Data.
Data.
I love that. What is the difference between SDI and regular instruction?
One special, IES. That's how you know it's special education. It's special and it's instruction.
Okay, my son, who's in 8th grade, was notified, not by me, that an IEP helper teacher available would change due to the IEP teacher-student ratio. Is that something?
I mean, it is something. As the question, is that legal? I mean, we don't have any say-so of who the district uses for staff members. They just have to meet the assignment and the qualifications for those duties. I don't know why we're notifying children with disabilities about that. Lord, help me. Help me.
Help me, help you, help me, to help you. Does an IEP go with a student to college?
Nope. An IEP is solely for children with a disability between the ages of 3 and 22 in public schools. So college does have a responsibility to implement a 504. So when you get to college, you can go to the disability office and talk about the accommodations that you would need to be successful in college.
Gotcha. So there was a clarification on the para with the AAC device. It says, the teachers and staff do not know how to use the device and don't use it appropriately.
Correct. That's why a student needs a communication partner. They do not need a para. A para is not a communication partner. So if you want your child to have somebody that understands their robust augmentative communication system, their other language, you're going to want in the schedule of services a communication partner. You're going to need to have an amazing advocate go with you to get that. They're not going to go, that sounds fantastic, here you go. But I've gotten it for countless families over the years.
Yes, ma'am, you have. Speech services for a homeschooled child. How do I get that?
Homeschool is not covered under IDEA. But if you are homeschooled and the district is kind enough to consider testing and providing related services under IDEA or instructional services, then you would probably have to make your student available to the school when that special ed service provider is there.
Do you know any of the 504 for immune diseases related to fatigue?
Do I know what the diseases are related to fatigue?
I'm thinking, it says, do you know of any 504, I'm thinking accommodations for immune disease related to fatigue?
So, I don't know many kids that should be on a 504. Like, maybe 3 in my whole 3 decades of doing this. That's just the truth. However, when we write a 504, we talk about the characteristics of the condition. So even if I knew the exact name of the condition, I would need to know how it shows up in your child's body. So you would want to make sure that the committee has all that information from your medical professional, kind of what goes on at home, how that shows up during the instructional day.
Fantastic. There we go. Can parents decline special education services?
Yep. Special education services are consensual. And the only person that provides that consent is the parent.
Is it possible for a child with an IEP in a 613 and also get ENL services?
I don't know what all of that means. Is that a zip code? 613? I don't know. I mean, area code? I don't know what that is.
I'm thinking maybe 6 kids, 1 teacher, 3 paras, also to get ENL. Don't know what that is, services. Maybe they will get back to us. Okay. Going up. Can you request what you need in a 504?
Yeah, you can request what you need to anybody. But you know what? There's a song. You can't always get what you want. Anyway.
Great song.
How old was that movie?
Oh, yes. But you definitely get a lot more with the boss in your corner.
We do.
Yes. How does a para advocate for a class of 2 paras, 1 teacher, and 16 self-contained ECSE? Do I get more staff? How do I help?
You're the para asking how you can help more? That help comes from above. And I don't mean the Lord. I mean your principal.
Gotcha. Any updates on Denton ISD?
They're banana heads, bozos, slanderous, are awful, and I can't stand their behavior. Did that capture it? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Clearly.
Yeah, they're not nice people. They don't care about kids with disabilities.
I am a special education teacher. How do I become an advocate like you?
So you join our 2-day intensive. We have it in Spanish or English. Ole, or what does oles mean? Does it mean hello?
Good question.
See, that's how much Spanish we know. That's what I get for joking around. So if you'd like to become an advocate, we have 2-day training in Spanish and English. That's going to give you this amazing, robust foundation for really understanding the obligations, the duties, responsibilities of schools, how IDE works, state statutes, and really how to grow and build your advocacy business.
Can a non-certified teacher who filled a SPED LOA have anything held against them should parents file against the school?
I have filed for teachers to lose their license for different things, but I've never filed for. The reason they're putting you guys in that position is because your district is telling you it's okay. They're literally looking in you in the face and lying. So I don't know why you'd want to go to work for a liar. I understand for a lot of you it's not an option, but they're putting you at risk, right? When a parent finds out the teacher doesn't meet the requirements, they're not upset with the principal. They're not upset with the superintendent. They're not upset with HR. They're upset with a nice person that was trying to fill the job. So that's, to me, it's gross that school districts do that, knowingly do it. And they know that they're doing it.
LOA, leave of absence?
Yeah, okay.
Is that what it is? LOA?
I don't know.
Okay.
I could guess. Low on accommodations? You don't want to get me started.
You move the needle if SD feels Gen Ed is least restrictive, but you do not agree.
Who is you? Is you a teacher? Is you a parent? Who is... So we make decisions based on data. So 2 things you're looking at. What does the law say and what does the data show? That should trump everything.
Let's see.
Daydream Believer.
Believer.
Did you see that? That's her name.
Yes.
Daydream Believer. I would misspell believer.
But autocorrect would get you.
It didn't for my word of the year. My word of the year that I was going to shoot people. I was like, just kidding. I meant execute, not execute.
Is the Title IV plan appropriate for severe head concussions and a short-term memory loss?
I would not know unless I'd reviewed the child's paperwork. And I don't know how somebody determines a short-term memory loss if it's still current.
Good point. I have an out-of-district placement. How do I go about that when the school does not seem to want to help?
So it's not about them wanting to help. If you have out-of-district placement, it's an obligation. So they have to fulfill their obligation. If they don't, I would go back to whoever did the settlement or file with the state.
The district is ignoring results from the psychiatrist for an emotional disability to finish their reevaluation. What can I do?
So the school's obligated to do their own evaluation. It doesn't matter. You could have the Surgeon General say that he has a certain kind of disability. It's going to fall ultimately on the school's educational testing for those criterion that are met.
Advice for a paraprofessional finishing their certification and transitioning to IS. So, I mean, my recommendation for you is to keep kids priority and do your best to serve them. And we are so thankful for paras. They are such game changers in a classroom. So thank you. Do you have any suggestions for state test accommodations to include on an IEP for my child with dyslexia?
Again, that's really general. I don't know your child's unique circumstances. So certainly the name of the condition is helpful, but dyslexia presents differently in everybody. It presents differently with comorbidities, their age, if there's other factors. So it would just depend on how she shows up in a classroom.
When is your next class for advocacy?
So we have a 2-day in-person in Orlando, Florida. So we can have a fun till the teachers take the fun away. So it'll be the 15th and 16th of February in Orlando, Florida proper. And so we're so excited. We have not done a 2-day live in person in almost 2 years. And it's a holiday weekend, so it's President's Day weekend, so you will have that Monday off. So certainly come and join us there. It's at Special Education Academy. And then we always have the 2-day on demand.
It's going to be spectacular. I can feel it.
I feel like there's going to be snacks.
Oh, yes. Qualifications should be met for a student to be on alternative curriculum.
Say it again.
What qualifications should be met for a student to be on alternative curriculum?
Their present levels, right? So it's not necessarily an eligibility. You could have a seizure disorder, but ultimately they need functional education. They need functional reading, functional academics. They might have functional needs. They might have medical needs. So they're not successful in a general ed setting, even at the highest level with a modified curriculum in a resource class.
I have a question. The school forged my signature on my child's IEP, and they have 13 federal violations. What do I do?
I would find a really good advocate to help you file, whether it's federal or state. So I'm going to read a question. Somebody said, how do you feel about conscious discipline in a special education behavioral classroom? I don't know what that means. I mean, I know what that means, but I don't know what that means. So students in a special education behavior classroom should all have a behavior intervention plan, and we are required to follow that. I don't know that conscious discipline would be appropriate for those students.
Let's see. Oh, goodness. Can you explain FBA, what they are, when they are appropriate, and how they are used?
Yes. So an FBA is a functional behavioral assessment. So we have students' behaviors that can solely not be addressed and are managed by the general education staff, and they are acute. So we do a functional behavior assessment to find out what is the root cause of this outcome, and then depending on those results, it would then turn into a BIP, a behavior intervention plan, so that we can teach the child replacement skills to mitigate that deficit.
Can the school finalize the IEP if I disagree and then I ask for their data and their reasoning?
Oh, schools can do a lot of things. So if you disagree with an IEP team, they are required to offer you a reconvene. If you disagree with them twice, the federal government's going to defer to the LEA, the local education agency. But you're not without options. You can still execute your procedural rights and safeguards and file with the appropriate entity to have those allegations addressed at a higher level.
Okay. Our zone school doesn't have special education. They want to bus us to a different district. Is that our only option?
Well, your district has to provide special education. So if they're in America, even in Indiana, you have to provide special education. So you wouldn't have to go to another district. So any special education that's needed in a district, that district must provide.
Ooh, I like your answer when you get this question. What is the difference between accommodation and modification?
Accommodation changes how I learn, and a modification changes what I learn.
Yes. Our daughter will be outplaced next year. How do I choose from the approved list?
Well, I would go and visit them. There's probably not that many on the list. Talk to those staff members and see which is the most appropriate fit for your daughter based on her current situation.
What would you do if the out-of-district placement in your area doesn't offer any other supports than your current placement? What would you do?
What I would do is dependent on a number of factors. So I wouldn't be asking for out-of-district placement if it was the same thing. But if it's out-of-district placement and they can fulfill the IEP and my campus can't, then I would defer to the out-of-district placement.
Okay. Can a student be placed in self-contained just based on a diagnosis?
Nope. We don't place anybody anywhere based upon an eligibility. We place them based upon where's an appropriate place to implement their IEP goals.
I see there is a VIP Academy and I'm in the Special Education Academy. What is the difference?
So the difference is the VIP coaching that we do for an hour before the academy is much more comprehensive. It's a deep dive. We look at documents. People talk about their advocates in there, whether they're advocating for their children, whether they're volunteer advocates, whether they are paid advocates, and they're wanting me to ask me questions about, with great specificity, about advocating. When do they need to move and adjust when they're advocating? What should you do different? What would be next steps? And those recommendations around being full-time advocates.
Excellent. What is the process of moving a student out of self-contained and back into an inclusive classroom?
Well, first I would just say peace out. No, I wouldn't. So you call an IEP meeting and you look at where's the most appropriate place to implement the IEP. So that's always what we're doing. And if it's no longer in a self-contained setting, awesome. The special education we delivered in there is working and it's mitigating the acuity of their disability.
What interventions do you give with middle school ESL students who knows no letters or sounds yet?
What interventions would I give them? So if you're in middle school and you don't know your letters or sounds yet, you're going to need an alternate curriculum, which is found in a life skills setting.
It's an ESL student, so I think it's other than English speaking, and they're coming, and I think it's a language barrier.
Okay. But if you're that far behind in junior high, you're that far behind. So you could have ESL services or LEP services in a life skill setting as well.
Okay. How long do you give the school to get AAC device started when it is written in the concern portion?
So I don't know about the concern portion, but it's part of the, so if a student has an AAC device, it's in the AT supplement, it's in the accommodations. I'm certainly going to have some service minutes on the schedule of services page. 5 business days. The Assistive Technology Act, the federal act, says that even if it's acquired off the shelf, so if your school doesn't have it, we can run over to Best Buy, get an iPad, and put that application on there and start serving that student.
Is data collection required to be taken weekly by law? Where can I find laws if it is?
So you can read Andrew F. ENDREFW. Did I spell that right? ENDEWF versus Douglas County. So the Supreme Court decision was March 22nd, 2017. And it talks about, we do 2 things at school. We teach and measure. So this notion that we have an IEP that we take federal funds for, but we don't measure it, is concerning to me. That's why we write measurable goals, because we're going to measure them. And we have to report that measurement, called progress reports. So therein is your law, that we have progress reports on IEP goals. And to know if there's progress, you would have to measure them. So here's what you need to know about the law. It doesn't say every single little bitty thing that you need to know. It assumes that when you're measuring IEP goals and they have to be reported every 6 to 9 weeks, that would be an assumption that you would have to take data on them.
Here's a similar question. Can a student's minutes alone put them in a self-contained room?
I think you said minutes or MITs. Can a student's minutes alone put them in a self-contained room? No, yes. You could have a one-on-one para all day long in general ed. I wouldn't recommend it, but no, minutes don't quantify self-contained. The level of education that you need quantifies that.
My son is starting dual enrollment. Can he use any of his IEP accommodation in his village courses?
You're going to run into a problem there. You just are. So accommodations have to be implemented across settings in the public school. They do not have to necessarily be implemented if you're going to a community college while you're getting that dual credit. But I really caution my families on doing that. If a child has a disability, I'm greatly concerned when we push him over the state expectations in certain content areas. That's just my position. I know parents feel very strongly about that. I don't know any adults that would say, I'm so glad I did dual enrollment classes in school that have disabilities. And that's just my position. It's a buffet. Take what you want, leave the rest. I took dual classes in high school, and I have no idea why.
Can you repeat what you said about your Spanish options?
Olé. Yes, we need to figure out what, can y'all please look that up with ChatGPT, Rachel, figure out what Olé means. So we have now translated our 2-day intensive on demand in Spanish. So we have it in English and Spanish. Spanish is the second largest speaking population in America. So please avail yourself and your Spanish speaking friends of that.
Boss, would you recommend a person in college for special education to work at a charter school?
Say it with me. No. I mean, if you want to learn something, learn how not to do it. Charter schools don't have the people. I mean, they just don't. You can be mad about it, but they don't.
Correct. Give an example of taking data for a goal for a student working on identifying coping strategies.
Well, the data you take sits inside of the goal. So the goal says within 36 instructional weeks, after 2 prompts, Billy will XYZ as evidenced by. So the goal will tell you what you're measuring. The baseline for the goal should exist inside of the present levels. And then it should be time constraint based on objectives and benchmarks, and that you'll reach the totality of that goal, acquiring that skill within 36 instructional weeks.
Okay, so Olé means an expression of encouragement, approval, or celebration. Olé.
Celebración.
See, we like to do that.
So it doesn't mean anything in English, does it? That's why you should, yeah. Olé.
Do minutes count for a child in special education by taking tests in a special education classroom?
Minutes it's a service we provide. It's not about counting. Children and their service minutes are not a checkbox. We are serving the child. That's why they're called the schedule of services page. We're giving them special education services.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean,
Must the-
yes. I mean, I guess if taking a test is when he is doing that in special education, then yes.
Must a student need 6 or more weeks of data in a trial run in order to be moved back into general education / inclusion?
Maybe. That's a real possibility. When I have kiddos that are in self-contained settings, I certainly come to an agreement with school districts of what we agree that we'll trial, because I don't want to throw him into the deep end of the pool and go, that didn't work. So absolutely, I would agree to a trial with the district.
I believe we've had one similar to this. Is there a cap on how many students can be in a self-contained GAA classroom?
It's not my experience that there's a cap on students in any settings at a state level. There is some language in some state codes about ratios, but it's not, the ratio police are not going to drive down from the Capitol and give you a ticket that's going to be on your windshield wiper. Although, I wouldn't mind driving that car, laying on the horn, wah, wah.
Is a public school good for twice exceptional kids?
That's going to be a decision that you make with your family. Because sometimes public schools aren't a good setting for anybody. And sometimes they're the most amazing setting.
Oh, we have a lot of people getting their #1 gifter badge.
Yay!
And I read it as glitter. So that goes out to Kendra and Mr. Diaz.
So Robert's pressure washing says, does one need a law degree to become an advocate? Nope, you don't need any degree. You need to like children, have a high pain tolerance for working groups, and want to get it right for the child so he can be a successful adult.
Okay. What do I do if the school states my kid doesn't need a parent?
Oh, we don't go by stating. We go by the agreed upon IEP. So I would say it sounds like you're about to present some data that supports that recommendation. Muffin. Definitely throw in the muffin. Especially if you're the muffin man. Do you know the muffin man, Cindy? I feel like he's been to your house.
He lives on Drury Lane, yes.
Oh, that's like 2 streets over from you?
It is.
Yeah.
How did you know that?
Because I've been to your house.
Yes, ma'am, you have.
And actually, if you ever go to her house, you can get stuck on that lane because it doesn't really her subdivision's like the Hotel California. You can get in, but you're probably not getting out.
I actually was late by 4 minutes picking up Mikey today because of all the dirt that they had to have a tractor pull my car out.
Oh my God.
My van out. It was delightful.
Did we fix the imaginary, your voice communication device doesn't work? From the banana heads? We'll talk. We'll talk later.
Yes, we
Yes,
must.
and then we're gonna stop at 10 till. So 5 more minutes.
Okay. Absolutely. I apply for special education needs scholarships.
How do you apply for them?
How do you apply for
I've never heard of a special education needs scholarship. But if there is a scholarship somewhere, wherever that is, they list the requirements to apply for them.
Okay. Let's see.
Let's see.
If a student has it on their IEP that they need an aid in science and social studies, but the school wants to, and it cut off.
Wants to not do it, what do? It's HEMA time. Ba-da-da-da. Is the content the same in the in-person intensive as the on-demand? So, actually, I just listened to, because I'm writing a book. Do you guys want me to write a book? Would you like a book? Would y'all like a book called, I can't tell you what it's called, but it's so good. So I have a book coming out April 1st, no kidding. And I just transcribed 3 of the exact same webinars. Here's the good news. You can ask anybody. I never, ever say the same thing twice, but it's going to be amazing. So being in person is 10 times different because you get to ask your questions. We get to do photo ops together, and we get to answer your specific questions. So, I mean, for me, anytime that I can be at a training in person it's always way more exciting because you're there with your new peers, your new little friends. But certainly if on demand is the only way you can get the information, we want you to have it. But in person is going to be fantastico.
I can hardly wait.
Yes, and we're excited about the book. We're so excited about the book.
Yes, Travis. You're muted.
Whatever he's saying, it's really good.
Okay. Here you go.
Yep.
I was just in reference to the scholarships, special education. In my case, I got information regarding for my blindness from the school counselor from the scholarships from the National Federation of the Blind, and many others like that.
That's really good. So there's all sorts of national federations. Thank you for that, Travis. So there's the Association of Attention Deficit. There's the Learning Association of America, the Tourette's Association. So look up your eligibility. If there's a national organization, they certainly might have scholarships available. Cindy just sent me a gift. So nice.
Yes. It's the rose to match your rouge.
My rouge. That was so funny.
Yes.
In Texas, we call it blush.
Yeah.
Your
School
rouge.
is wanting to move a student to the most restrictive placement without an FBA and FIE to complete it. What are your thoughts?
You can be in the most restrictive setting without an FBA. There are kids in life skills that do not need an FBA. But you certainly want to make sure that you have the data to support it. And data shows up in evaluations. It shows up in present levels.
Alex needs help. They say the district is telling them that the school offers only 10-minute sessions for speech. The child is nonverbal. So, is that acceptable?
It sounds like you missed the I in IEP. Ain't no G in IEP. Ain't no group. So, go on now, tiny dancer. 10 minutes of speech, like you can't even build a relationship. So I would say that's great for the other children that you're serving, but for this child, we're going to base it on their unique circumstances.
And here's our last question. My son had a behavioral assessment done, but the school won't release the results. What can I do?
So was it an IEE or was it a regular evaluation?
That's a great question.
So an IEE does not have specific timelines once they receive that. But if they've completed an evaluation, whenever you sign for an evaluation, before you get out of there, you say, what is the due date? And so whatever that due date is, let's say it's April 4th, then they have to provide you with a copy of that at the due date, not a minute later. So listen, we love you guys. We will see you in the academy. Remember, we'll get it right for the child, we'll get it right for everybody. Happiest New Year, and we'll see you guys in the next training.